Mahatma Gandhi, A Life in Pursuit of Truth and Freedom. Mahatma Gandhi, born Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, was an Indian lawyer, pacifist, political and spiritual leader of the Indian independence movement. He was one of the most influential figures of the 20th century. Gandhi strongly advocated for nonviolence as a way to achieve political and social objectives. His philosophy of nonviolence, satyagraha, inspired movements for civil rights and social justice around the world, including the American Civil Rights Movement, led by Martin Luther King Jr. It continues to shape the pursuit of peace and social justice today. He believed that nonviolence was an effective tool to combat injustice and bring about positive change. In a world still plagued by conflict and injustice, Gandhi's principles of nonviolence remain relevant. His message encourages individuals and communities to use peaceful means to effect change. Gandhi did not see nonviolence as passivity, but as an active form of resistance that required courage and discipline. He was a central figure in India's struggle for independence from British colonial rule. His philosophy of satyagraha, nonviolent resistance, was a powerful tool in this struggle. He organized numerous campaigns of civil disobedience, including the famous Salt March, which brought the cause of Indian independence to the world's attention. His leadership and nonviolent protests helped mobilize public opinion and ultimately achieve India's independence in 1947. Gandhi also advocated for social reforms in India, including the abolition of untouchability, a system of caste discrimination, and the promotion of unity between Hindus and Muslims. Gandhi's influence extends far beyond India's borders. Gandhi was born on October 2, 1869, in Porbandar, a coastal town in what is now the state of Gujarat. He had two older brothers, Laxmidas and Karsandas, as well as an older sister, Raliat Ben. Gandhi came from a family of the merchant caste and grew up in an environment of religious tolerance and tradition. After finishing school, he went to London to study law. This time in England shaped him in many ways. Gandhi studied law at University College London and at the Inner Temple. His stay in London from 1888 to 1891 was a turning point in his life, shaping the ideas and values that would define his role in the Indian freedom struggle. In London, Gandhi came into contact with Western lifestyles, some of which he adopted. He became familiar with Western ways of thinking and learned to grapple with them. His time in London helped shape the ethical framework that guided him in leading the Indian independence movement. During his time in London, Gandhi engaged intensively with various philosophical and religious writings, including the Bhagavad Gita and the works of Henry David Thoreau. These influences contributed to the development of his philosophy of satyagraha. He became acquainted with Western culture, explored various philosophical currents, and developed a deep understanding of the British legal system. After returning to India in 1891, Gandhi initially worked as a lawyer before moving to South Africa in 1893. There, he was confronted with the brutal reality of racial segregation. These experiences were a turning point in his life. He began to advocate for the rights of the Indian minority in South Africa and developed his philosophy of satyagraha, which was based on the principles of truth, nonviolence, and civil disobedience. In 1915, Gandhi returned to India and quickly became a central figure in the Indian independence movement. He recognized that British rule was based on the exploitation of the Indian population, and that only a united India would be able to liberate itself. Gandhi called for a series of civil disobedience campaigns, including the famous Salt March in 1930, during which he and his followers protested against the British salt monopoly. Gandhi's philosophy of satyagraha was a revolutionary idea. He demonstrated that nonviolence can be an effective weapon in the fight against oppression. His message of hope and resistance resonated with millions of Indians, mobilizing them for the independence movement. In 1947, India finally gained independence, but the partition of the country into India and Pakistan filled Gandhi with deep sorrow. Mahatma Gandhi promoted the idea of a united India, with Hindus and Muslims living in peace together. The partition of India was a very violent event that led to great suffering and many deaths. The partition of India in 1947 was the result of the division of British India into the independent states of India and Pakistan. It was a complex process driven by religious tensions between Hindus and Muslims, as well as the policies of British colonial rule. The main players were the British colonial government, the Indian National Congress, and the Muslim League. The Muslim League, also known as the All India Muslim League, was a political party established in the British Indian Empire. The demand for a separate Muslim state, Pakistan, was driven by the Muslim League under the leadership of Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Lord Mountbatten, the last Viceroy of India, played a key role in the implementation of the partition plan. He was responsible for overseeing the transfer of power from the British government to the newly independent states of India and Pakistan. The partition was marked by widespread violence, including massacres, ethnic cleansing, and displacement. Widespread violence erupted between Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs, resulting in countless deaths and immense suffering. The violence has left deep scars on the affected communities, and continues to shape relations between religious groups to this day. It is important to emphasize that the violence did not originate from one side alone, but that all affected groups were both victims and perpetrators. The events of 1947 stand as a cautionary example of the devastating force of religious hatred and intolerance. Millions of people were displaced as they attempted to cross the newly drawn borders, resulting in immense suffering and loss. The death toll remains disputed to this day. Estimates range from several 100,000 to 2 million deaths. The partition had profound and long-lasting effects on the region, including ongoing tensions between India and Pakistan. It also left a legacy of trauma for survivors and their descendants. He was deeply saddened by the violence and partition of his country, and he strove until his death to heal the wounds the partition had inflicted. Gandhi believed in the importance of unity between Hindus and Muslims in India. He worked tirelessly to bridge the gap between the two communities. His efforts were undermined by the partition of India in 1947. He tirelessly advocated for reconciliation between Hindus and Muslims, and was assassinated by a Hindu extremist on January 30, 1948. Gandhi's legacy lives on. His philosophy of nonviolence has inspired people around the world to fight for peace and justice. He taught us that even the most powerful oppressors can be defeated by the power of truth and love. Central aspects of Gandhi's philosophy: Satyagraha, the power of truth and nonviolence; civil disobedience as a means of resistance; the conviction that the opponent can be convinced through love and respect; ahimsa, nonviolence in thought, word, and deed; respect for all life; the rejection of hatred and revenge; Swadeshi, self-sufficiency and the boycott of foreign goods; the promotion of the Indian economy and culture; the rejection of consumerism; Sarvodaya, the good of all; the vision of a just and egalitarian society; the rejection of inequality and exploitation. Mahatma Gandhi was more than just a political leader. Gandhi's teachings and example continue to have a profound impact on movements for peace, justice, and social change around the world. He was a philosopher, a visionary, and a role model for millions. His life and teachings remind us that we all have the power to change the world.